The cavernous warehouse studio of the Joe Rogan Experience in Austin, Texas thrummed with the raw energy of a late afternoon recording on a sweltering November day in 2025. The Red River District's distant hum of traffic filtering through the soundproofed walls like a muffled heartbeat. Joe Rogan, the 58-year-old podcast powerhouse with his shaved head gleaming under the overhead rigs and a black Alpha Brain tee stretched across his UFC-honed frame, strode into the recording booth at 2 p.m. sharp, his signature bow in hand like a talisman waving to the small crew of producers and engineers huddled behind the glass. Dressed in casual cargo shorts and flip-flops, Joe launched into his opening riff with the precision of a comedian's timing, roasting the week's absurdities from UFO congressional hearings to the latest vegan meat scandal that had carnivores cackling across the internet. "Folks, we've got royalty in the house today, or ex-royalty depending on who you ask," he announced, his voice booming through the sure mix, that infectious California drawl wrapping the words in gravelly grit. Formally, from palace protocols to podcast provocations, please welcome Meghan Markle. The crew cheered, cameras rolling for the video feed as Meghan entered from the side door, a vision of calculated calm at 44, her dark hair in loose waves, makeup a dewy armor of foundation and liner, clad in a tailored white blazer over silk camisole and high-waisted trousers that screamed boardroom boss, paired with nude stilettos that clicked against the concrete floor. She exuded that hybrid aura, former actress turned activist Duchess, her smile practiced yet piercing, waving to the team before settling into the guest chair opposite Joe, legs crossed, a leather notebook at her side. She was there to promote her audio revival, a Spotify-free venture titled Unfiltered Voices, a series amplifying marginalized stories fresh off a teaser drop that promised raw reckonings amid whispers of Netflix negotiations. The setup was intimate, just Joe, Meghan and the mix, the infamous elk meat jerky on the table, the bow rack looming like a silent sentinel, the studio's energy primal yet professional, fairy lights strung overhead twinkling like distant paparazzi flashes. Joe leaned back, sipping from his massive mug of what smelled like mushroom coffee, and quipped, "Meghan, welcome to the meat grinder, or should I say the avocado toast oasis. California's treating you well? More kale smoothies, or have you gone full hunter-gatherer with Harry?" The laughter echoed warmly, and Meghan's chuckle tinkled, launching into a tale of Montecito mornings with the kids, organic gardens and archery lessons, the conversation flowing like elk blood at first. But beneath the bonhomie tensions simmered Meghan's ongoing media wars and family fractures, tabloid staples, and Joe, ever the unfiltered interrogator, sensing an opportunity to probe deeper without the corporate leash. He steered toward her advocacy, praising Arch Ewell's latest youth mental health initiative that had just partnered with 23 global NGOs under Meghan's watchful eye. "You're a force, Meghan, turning privilege into purpose. But tell us, does the crown ever call, or is it all burner phones with dad these days?" Meghan's smile timed a flicker crossing her face, but she parried with grace, "Speaking of forgiveness and bonds strained by borders." The crew hung on every word, the studio's vibe electric, the infamous UFO posters watching like silent witnesses. Yet as the episode progressed, Joe's questions edged sharper, laced with that trademark skepticism that could eviscerate like a compound bow. He referenced a recent blind item about Meghan's exile status, framing it as a jest that I'd say you're the spare bed girl. "But seriously, do you miss the duty, or is Netflix the new dominion?" Laughter rippled, but Meghan's posture shifted, her fingers drumming subtly on her notebook. The Duchess, ever the strategist forged in fires of scrutiny, responded with measured anecdotes about balancing authenticity with advocacy, her voice steady but eyes betraying guarded intensity. Joe, sensing the pivot, clapped his hands and called for a quick break, the crew bustling with water refills. Backstage whispers would later reveal Meghan's team had prepped for substantive fare, but Joe's improvisational style was legendary. No guest was safe from his rabbit hole dives. As recording resumed, the air felt thicker, charged with unspoken undercurrents of America's obsession with its adopted royal. Joe cracked a self-deprecating line about his own cancelled culture brushes, eliciting groans and giggles, but all eyes remained glued to Meghan, waiting for the next exchange. And then it came, the innocuous question that lit the fuse. With the mix hot again, Joe Rogan circled back to the royal riff, his eyes narrowing with that hunter's focus as he leaned forward, bow forgotten on the table, the studio lights casting dramatic shadows across the elk jerky platter. "Meghan, let's get real for a second's archetypes" was a mic drop millions tuned in for the unfiltered. But here's the rub, do you think the family's thawed since, or are we still in deep freeze territory? The question hung heavy, the only sound the faint whir of the AC overhead. Meghan's jaw set, her easy demeanor cracking like thin ice. She paused, choosing words with bomb squad precision. Joe Archetypes was about amplifying voices silenced too long. Thought it's a process, I've extended branches but healing's not hurried. The response was polished, laced with the steel of a woman who'd faced down tabloids and tribunals alike. Joe, undeterred, pressed on with his no-holds-barred irony. Fair but come on spare, dropped more bombs than Bagram. Charles miffed about the corgis or the Commonwealth. A smattering of crew laughter bubbled, tentative then fuller, as a producer snorted off Mick. But Meghan's face flushed, her rare tell, her freckles blooming under the lights. He leaned forward, voice dropping, "That's not funny, Joe. My experiences aren't punchlines and neither is my family's pain. I've lost privacy, they're real sacrifices, not for laughs." The studio chilled, the crew's smiles freezing as one tech fiddled with a knob, sensing the shift from spar to sparring. Joe, a veteran of awkward pauses, attempted recovery. "Absolutely, Meghan, your resilience is legit. Let's lighten. Tell us about Lilibut's latest. Is she archery like Dad or plotting podcasts?" But the damage dug deep. Meghan's eyes narrowed, her reserve fracturing into raw retort. She glanced toward her handler in the booth, who nodded subtly. The crew murmured unease, rippling phones sneaking out to capture the drama. Joe, ever the pro, segued to a clip from her teaser, but the fracture showed the chairs feeling less like confessional and more like cage match. As the bandless interlude hummed, Joe interjected quietly, "I came here for voices, not vendettas." Joe caught it, brow furrowing. Had he misjudged the Duchess's armor? He leaned in. Mick glowered, "Mate, no harm, just keeping it real." But Meghan's snapback sizzled, "This isn't real, Joe. It's rigged." The clash escalated in whispers, the crew straining, the producer wisely staying silent, nursing his energy drink. Then the trigger, Joe back on Mick, quipped about Meghan's status post-Megxit. "No offense, but without the HR you just Meghan the Markle now, like a discount Duchess at Target." The line landed like a grenade, crew gasps mingling with uncomfortable coughs. Meghan's face darkened, her hand gripping the chair arm. "That's exactly the rubbish I've fought, reducing people to titles or tropes. If you can't respect that, maybe I shouldn't be here." The words hung, the studio stunned, quiet broken by a lone keyboard clack. Joe's grin faltered, his quick wit stalled. He stammered, "Meghan, it's all in fun, water under the bridge, yeah." But the Duchess was rising, blazer smoothing with deliberate calm, voice steady but fury-laced. "Fun for you perhaps, for me it's personal. Good day everyone." The crew gasped, collective intake echoing off the walls, cameras zooming on Meghan's retreating form. Chaos erupted in the wake of Meghan Markle's abrupt exit, the studio door swinging shut with a resonant thud that reverberated like a final judgment. Joe Rogan sat frozen for a split second, his trademark composure cracking as the crew's murmur swelled into a cacophony of whispers and shocked exclamations. "Did that just happen? Oh my God!" She bailed, rippling from the booth to the back. The host recovered with tightrope grace, flashing a wry smile to the rolling cameras. "Well folks, that's one way to end an episode. Meghan Markle, ladies and gents, exiting like the force was against her. Give it up for the drama, shall we?" Polite applause followed, strained as stagehands darted, the producer averting eyes, fiddling with rings in sympathy. Joe, seizing the void, launched into an impromptu bit about his own guest walkouts. "I once had a guy storm out over elk meat," drawing relieved chuckles that eased the tension. But off Mick the frenzy unfolded. Meghan's security flanked her in the corridor, handler murmuring into earpiece as they hustled to the green room. "That was uncalled for," she muttered, voice low, rumble, cheeks flushed, shrugging off blazer revealing sweat-dampened silk. Back in the studio, Joe cut recording, the red light off as producers scrambled, barking, "Roll the B-roll, get the teaser." Softened this while social media ignited. Tweets flew, #Meghan walks out trending in minutes, clips viral on TikTok and X, dissected by pod watchers from Ben Shapiro's rants to TMZ breakdowns. Rogan's crossed the line, Meghan's a hero, not a target. One fan posted, "Detractors crowed about time someone called out the whinging Duchess." The Spotify switchboard jammed, calls, outrage and delight, execs debating damage control, apologize or lean into buzz. Meanwhile, in a sleek Austin hotel suite, Harry paced phone to ear, brow furrowed as Meghan's call connected. "Babe, are you okay? That meathead thinks real excuses bullying, we'll sue if we have to." Meghan's laugh bitter, "No lawsuits, just tired of the game." Voices was the point, not this circus. Their children oblivious, spilt Lego under nanny watch, innocence stark against adult edges. Back at the studio, Joe rapped with forced levity, interviewing a backup comic, but quips carried unease, the mug refilled frequently. Crew whispers painted prelude. Joe prepped edgier material, cleared loosely with Meghan's team, but Duchess's raw nerve on family and tropes proved miscalculation. As rap called, Joe signed off, nod to elephant, thanks for tuning, another wild ride, remember life's too short for frozen bridges. Cheers. The crew filed out, days clustering lobby, rehash, some snapping selfies, others texting abroad. Outside, paps swarmed, flashes popping as Meghan's blacked-out Range Rover peeled away, taillights fading into Texas twilight. Fallout cascaded globally. CNN looped clipped on New York Times op-eds on celebrity fragility. Buckingham no comment. Insiders hinted Charles's chuckle over Rogan rubbish. Meghan's phone vibrated, messages from old suits mates made you show them Archewell supporters proud for standing firm. Tentative olive from Oprah's camp heard sofa scrap fancy tea. Yet in car quiet, Meghan stared, blurring lights replaying exchange, regret and resolve churning. Overreacted or reclaimed, the Duchess exhaled, texting Harry simple emoji bridge over troubled waters. In the shimmering aftermath of the Joe Rogan showdown, the world awoke to media maelstrom eclipsing juiciest leaks, headlines screaming from the Sun's Meghan's red-faced rage to Guardian's measured when banter meets boundaries, royal reckoning. By breakfast in Montecito, Meghan's team spun narrative gold, press releases framing walkout, bold stand against trivializing trauma, unfiltered voices, streams spiking, 300% supporters rallied, #stand with Meghan, hashtags flooding feeds. Joe doubled down with Texan aplomb, tweeting cheeky sorry not sorry, love ya next time bring the Duke for round 2, garnered million likes, flurry memes casting him puckish Hunter out, tweeting ginger giant. The JRE caught crossfire, aired toned down episode sans clash, but internet eternal archive, unedited footage proliferated, YouTube racking 50 million views, 24 hours dissected slow-mo by podcasters, from Russell Brand's rants to TMZ breakdowns. Meghan's inner circle buzzed, strategy sessions and Mance Harry brewing, chamomile plotting, podcast episode, cost of comedy, voice steady, you did right, love authenticity over applause. The kids sensing vibe presented handmade cards, crowns, peace signs, Archie's scrawl reading mommy's brave like lion. Across town, Joe nursed pint with producer pals, dissecting debacle over brisket, thought she'd laugh it off, Lassie's layered like onion. Still downloads through roof. Indeed episode shattered records, edging Adele's tearful return, proving controversies currency, attention economy. Watchers speculated wildly, did Meghan's fury stem fresh family snubs, Balmoral barbecue or lingering spare regrets? Insiders whispered pre-show plea, no family digs, ignored pursuit, primetime punch. As days blurred, weak olive branches extended, private call between Joe and Meghan brokered, mutual comedy mates apologies flowed like mushroom coffee water under bridge. Meghan, the Duchess gracious victory, quipped back, next time I'll bring Beau for banter. Publicly, Meghan channeled fire fuel, headlining virtual Archewell fundraiser, raised millions, speech weaving vulnerability, valor storms pass, rebuilding counts. Harry ever strategist guest starred, rival pod turning tables, tales resilient, love sans single, Joe nod stealing spotlight anew. Dust settled, unlikely silver linings, Joe's book sales surged, wit wars buzz, Meghan's series re-entered charts, even Windsor's thawed slightly, Charles inviting Sussex's low-key Christmas sans cameras. Social media evolved, vitriol vignettes, unity, fans remixing clip, empowering anthems, underscoring banters, blade nicks near bone. In end walkout wasn't fracture, fulcrum tilting, Meghan's arc, prodigal princess, unapologetic icon, proving theater fame, sometimes storming off strongest scene. As December leaves turned 2025 tale lingered, folklore reminder, even Duchess's bleeding ire, hosts like Joe remind laughter's line ever fine. Fade credits, chapter closed, podcast trio spins eternal.